Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And every Sunday on this channel, I do a little series called Soulful Sundays, and I typically read from a meditation book and then kind of discuss my feelings related to that. I try to pick a meditation that I haven't read, so it's new to me as we're sitting here going through it and you're watching it. It's new to you, and it's new unless you've read it before, and it's new to me because I haven't read it, or if I have, I don't remember it. So today I picked the book, The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beatty. It's the sister companion meditation book to Codependent No More, which is one of my favorite books. And the reason why I chose to do this meditation is I've gotten a lot of comments recently of people talking about codependency. And so I thought, you know, this is actually a really valuable meditation today because it goes in here and it talks about self-approval. And I only read the first paragraph, so I haven't read the rest of it. But it was kind of hard to pick a meditation today. And this is actually tomorrow's meditation, it's September 10th. Today's meditation is on perspective, and yesterday's was on stopping our pain. And the day before that was powerless over others. And the last couple days have been so fantastic, each meditation, that I didn't really know which one to pick. But this is a good one for all of us, I think, going into the next week. And that's really what I like to do on this channel, is kind of have something that we can think about as we're going into the next week, you know? And I think even to just like write down on a Post-it note or just one line from the meditation so that you can kind of remember what we talked about going into the next week. That's what I kind of do. And I always have it sitting next to my computer. Therefore, going forward, it's like the one common theme of what I think about throughout the week. And that's how I use the meditations. But I also read them, you know, typically on a daily basis. So let's get to the meditation. Please hold. I just got back from brunch with my husband, and he just left to go visit our in-laws, and I'm going to go over there after my videos are filmed. And I brought home a little coffee from my brunch, and it is fantastic. So, okay. Self-approval, September 10th. The dogs are over here. They are so sweet. They're all like just sitting on top of each other, and Pee-Pee's right next to me. It's a perfect Sunday. It's rainy, it's windy, it's cold outside for September. It's like an early fall day. It's just a perfect Sunday afternoon. Not a great Friday when you want to, go and do fun stuff, but it's a perfect Sunday afternoon. Okay, self-approval, September 10th. Most of us want to be liked. We want other people to think of us as nice, friendly, kind, and loving. Most of us want the approval of others. Since childhood, some of us have been trying to get approval, trying to get people to like us and think highly of us. We may be afraid people will leave us if they disapprove of our actions. We may look for approval from people who have none to give. We may not know that we're lovable now and can learn to approve of ourselves. In order to live happily, we live consistently with the way our higher power wants us to live, and to tap into a way of life that is in harmony with the universe. We need to let go of our extreme need for approval. These unmet needs for approval and love from our past give others control over us today. These needs can prevent us from acting in our best interest and being true to ourselves. We can approve of ourselves. In the end, that's the only approval that counts. Today, I will let go of my need for approval and my need to be liked. I will replace them with a need to like and approve of myself. I will enjoy the surprise I find when I do this. The people who count, including myself, will respect me when I am true to myself. You know, it's so true, and I've spoken a lot on here about how validation and acceptance is really important to me in my life, from everybody, from my parents when I was younger to schoolmates of mine, and on and on and on. And I found over time as I was growing up that I needed validation and acceptance typically from those people that disliked me the most, if that makes sense. So from the bullies in school, they were always the ones whose acceptance and validation I was seeking the most. From the people that, back then didn't want to be around me. It was always important for me to seek their validation. And I think in some way it was like I had proved something if I could get through to them, which very rarely I ever did, And then the people around me that did approve of me, the people that loved me, kind of went to the wayside. I don't do that in my life today, I really work hard at acknowledging the support and the love in my life that I have, and the people that don't like me. I mean, not everybody's going to like me. I know that. Not everybody's going to like you. And if that's a mystery to you, it's a lesson we need to learn, because not everybody's going to like you. And there are going to just, have you ever just had somebody in your life that just rubs you the wrong way? And you try really hard, and maybe it's like a girlfriend or a boyfriend of somebody, and it's like, just like when you're with them, you're just like, I just don't, like, this isn't who I see them for, but they love that person. You're like, okay, I'm happy for you, but whatever. There's just going to be a lot of people in your life that don't really like you. And there are things that I have done in my life I want to talk about the story with my mom in a second, because I've talked about this on here, so it's not a new reference. But there have been periods in my life when I've worked really, really hard to make others happy at the expense of myself being happy. And one of those is at the time that I was getting my, my master's degree, and I was working 50 plus hours a week. I had a 20-hour a week internship one year and a 40-hour a week internship the year after that. I was in 15 hours of credits. Credit hour classes. I was in a relationship. I lived with my boyfriend at the time, and I had a roommate that was my best friend, and I'm trying to see my mom, trying to see my dad. I had no social life. I'm writing 25-page papers on top of all this. It was 2 years of just absolute chaos, right? But I got so much achieved in those 2 years, and so that was the period where at one point I went over to my mom's house, this house right here, and we were sitting there, and she said, she was guilt tripping me, and she was like, and her guilt tripping me was nothing new. It had been something I grew up with, and she was like, you just don't come over and see me anymore. You just don't, it doesn't seem like you really care about me that much anymore. And I was like, Mom, I love you. You know that I'm just very busy and whatever. And I was literally at that point, and maybe that's what drove me over the edge. I just was worn out. I just was literally worn out, and I loved my mom, I loved coming over. And this was after we were both sober, obviously. We had been sober, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And, she's like, I know, but, you make time for everybody else, but you just don't make time for me, which was total bullshit. I would leave my job and come straight over to my mom's house, once a week, 3 times a week or whatever. But I know that she didn't have a lot of people in her life, and so it made her sad. We were sitting there, and she kept on going on about it, and I just was kind of like pushed over the edge. And I said, Mom, I'm not responsible for your happiness. And she looked at me and she said, what? And I said, I'm not responsible for your happiness. I've literally talked about this, maybe I need to be reminded of this, because I've talked about this in 3 videos in the last month. And I said, I'm not responsible for your happiness. And she said, do I make you feel that way? And I said, oh, yeah, absolutely, you do. You make me feel like it's my job to make you happy. And, I think what was happening at that point was I felt responsible for my boyfriend's happiness. I felt responsible for my mother's happiness. I felt responsible for my best friend's happiness, who would say things to me like, when you're home, you don't want to spend any time with me. You just want to take a nap or do homework or be with your boyfriend or whatever. My dad was awesome actually through that period of time. And because my dad had done residency in medical school, he understood the restraints of going through something like that and how difficult it is. But my mom wasn't being understanding at all, and so I had all these people in my life that I was trying to make happy, and somehow my happiness, my self-approval got lost in all of that, Was I okay with what I was doing at that point in my life? And I was, and I'm proud of myself for doing all of that at that time, And it was a very, very stressful period of my life. And that's one of the reasons, I can remember, the day that, this was back in the day, and it was the day that I graduated. So I never went to a college or a graduate school graduation. I worked both of those days. The day that I graduated from a college, I worked that day. And the day that I graduated with my master's degree, I worked that day too. So I was scheduled to work and nobody else would cover it, so I worked. And that's kind of who I've been through my, my work years. And but I remember the day that I took my last exam in graduate school. And I stopped at a gas station. I don't know why I didn't call my mom using my cell phone. I don't know if I had a cell phone at the time. I don't know what. But I remember I stopped at this gas station. It was this gas station on Delaware in downtown Indianapolis. And there was a payphone there. And I pulled over and I called my mom on the payphone. And I was bawling. And I go, Mom, I just took my last class. I took my last class ever. And her response to me was, well, you might want to go on and get your PhD. And I was like, seriously? I'm done. I'm done right now, And I really haven't had any desire to go back and do that, and I know now I never will. That's not the life that I want anymore. I wanted to take art classes. I wanted to go to writers' workshops. I wanted to take some cooking classes. I thought it would be fun. There's supposed to be a phenomenal sushi rolling class here in Indianapolis. Alex and I talk about classes to take all the time. I'm not any good with car stuff, so I think it would be really fun to take a car mechanics, just basic mechanics class. So Alex and I, my husband, are talking all the time about classes we can take, but to go on to further my education, I'm done with that. I've already made that decision. There are other things in the world I want to do that's not important to me right now. But if that's something that's important to you, I highly encourage that, And I've had so many friends of mine. It's interesting because we were just talking about this book that we were reading for our book club, and the character in it doesn't even have her GED, and she's talking about college and stuff, and people around her are kind of like scrutinizing her, and other people are like being really supportive of her. I've had so many friends of mine that literally have PhDs and run clinical programs that had to get their GED because they dropped out of high school. Any dream that you have out there, you can accomplish. You can accomplish any dream you have out there. But at some point, what I had to learn, let me weave this back around, is that, and I think it really took me going through like a really hard time of my life. That was it, and in my past relationships, I did this as well. I do not do this in my relationship today, was that I would do anything to make my exes happy, even at my own expense of my own happiness. Like I would go places that I didn't want to go, and, just out of town for a weekend somewhere that I didn't really want to go, or dinner with somebody that I didn't really want to spend time with. And I really never stood up and said, no, I'm not really interested in doing this. And I think there's a difference between, always saying no. Like, I had a friend of mine that I used to work with, and she used to say, save your no's. And what she meant by that was, if somebody asks you to do something extra, like, can you do this, can you do that, do you want to do this, would you like to do this, don't always say no. Like, say yes sometimes and save your no's. Because I think at some point what happens is, it can flip over too, and then it's like, we go from wanting to please everybody to I'm not going to please anyone. Does that make sense? And so then we just start saying no to everything, and what happens is we start missing out on life. And I went through that a little bit, I did. I went through that, partly like I talked the other day about coming back into a 12-step program. At that point, I was like, I'm living for me. I don't care. Whatever. I'm going to do what I want to do. Well, it's taken several years, now I go and my husband and I do stuff all the time together and go out and, whatever. But it took me a long time to get to the point where I do stuff that makes me happy. Like, this is an interesting point, okay? Like going out to bars, like with friends for a weekend, or a loungy bar or whatever, a club, I used to go out all the time, and I would go out because my ex wanted me to go out, or I would go out because my husband wanted me to go out, or friends were begging me to go, or, oh, please, Peter, we haven't seen you, go out, let's go dancing, whatever, and I would do it, right? And I would find myself there, and I didn't want to be there. And I would be having conversations with people that, I hadn't seen in months, and I could be at home doing something I felt like was more effective for my life. And so that was when I came back into the 12-step program. I decided that I wasn't going to be going out to bars as much anymore, And some people had issues with that at first because our social life was built around that. What's interesting is I do go out now. I don't go out often, but I do go out. And like when we were in Las Vegas, I was like the one begging Alex and his friend from college to go to like another bar because I wanted to dance and I wanted to have fun. And we had such a blast that night. But the thing is, because I'm the one that sets the boundaries for myself in my life today, when I go out now, I have a blast. Because I'm not going out because I feel like I need to. I'm there because I want to. Does that make sense? One of the things I learned from my friend Tanya is this, was that for years, I would ask Tanya to do stuff, and then she would say, no thanks, or sure, no thanks, sure. And one night she said to me, because I stopped asking her because she just said no to everything, and I said to her, or she said to me, she said, you never invite me to go do stuff anymore. And I said, Tanya, every time I ask you, you just say no. And she goes, I know, but I might surprise you one of these times. And she goes, the reality is, I just like to be asked. I just like to be included. And I think that's the validation right there that I'm looking for. Allow me to say yes or no, but include me in the plan. And, so after that, I started asking her, and I said, do you want to go this? And she'd say, no, sweetie, I'm really tired today, but thank you for asking me. Or, no, I don't want to do that. Or, yes, I do want to do that. That would be fun. And what I learned through this was a very, very valuable lesson, and it really took my friendship up with Tanya, was that when Tanya is with me and she's there and we're doing something, she's not there out of obligation. She's there because she wants to be there. And she's there because she is my friend and she's enjoying that time with me. So often, when we approve of ourselves first and stop trying to please everyone around us, they are positively affected by that as well. So it's important for us to set boundaries and stop doing everything to people please and start pleasing ourselves. You don't have to be selfish with your actions. You can be considerate of your family and friends. And it's important to, suit up and show up. But we can also be, I think, compassionate with people when they say to us, like they ask us to do things. We can say, well, not today, or I can do it in 2 days for you, whatever. Always take care of yourself. If you're not yourself well, you can't take care of others who may need you down the road. I love you guys, and I will see you later. Bye.